Hey, good morning. We are in Second Samuel. So again, the first and second book of Samuel was really one book, but it's been divided into two. And in the first book of Samuel, we covered mainly Saul being the king, and he did well at first, but then he kind of tried to manipulate and was dishonest and lacked integrity and had pride and disobedience, and so everything just kind of started falling apart. And he was told that God would rise up a new king, and he got jealous. That was David, and he tried to kill David. Um, and then eventually he died in battle. It says he fell on his own sword, but he was in battle with his son Jonathan. So Second Samuel is mostly about David's reign, and he started off mourning Saul and Jonathan, even though Saul had tried to kill him effectively, or not effectively, but efficiently, like he was really trying to kill him. And so David is anointed as a king because he's humble. He has his heart in the right place. He's forgiving people. He's forgiving his enemies. And he is blessed with sons. He has many women. You know, you can have many wives. Then he had definitely more than one wife. And he did great for the first 10 chapters. There's 24 chapters. And God even called David a man after his own heart. What a compliment. And he worked to bring together the different tribes and kind of make it a unified country. He established Jerusalem as kind of a capital, and he called it Zion, Zion. He put the Ark of the Covenant there, and David also made plans to build the temple, which he didn't end up actually building it, but he made the plans. He took care of Jonathan's physically challenged son. Jonathan was Saul's son, and so this is Saul's grandson, so he took care of him. But then David sees Bathsheba. So David sees another man's wife bathing on a rooftop, and he wants her. And so somehow that, adultery lust had entered into his life. And so he ends up committing adultery with her and gets her pregnant. Her husband Uriah is at war, and he tries to get him to come home so he can kind of say, oh, it's his child. But then he wants Bathsheba, so he continues to plot in this romantic, lustful things, that passion that, if you watch crime stories, a lot of times ends up being crimes. And he sets Uriah up because he's king, right? And Uriah is a soldier, and so he orders Uriah to be in the front line, which means he's going to get killed, and he is. So he actually marries Bathsheba, and the child dies, but they do have more children. And one of the children that comes from David and Bathsheba is Solomon, which ends up being the future king and also the lineage of Jesus Christ. So again, throughout the Bible, people are making mistakes. There is no one that's getting it more right than you or me. But God still redeems our broken souls and continues to redeem mankind and to bring us to his eternal kingdom eventually. There's a prophet Nathan that talks to David about what he did with Bathsheba, because he knows that David has a good heart, and so but he says it in a very nice way. He says, David, there was this man who had just one sheep, and this other guy had several, but he wanted that guy's sheep, so he went and took it. And David was like, "Who's that guy? That's terrible." And he said, "Well, that's you." And so then he gets it. And so sometimes we just, because the enemy has just twisted our mind to believe that something that's not okay is okay. But then if you see it in perspective, you realize, yeah, you're right, it's not okay. And so David wholeheartedly repents. Well, at least I think wholeheartedly, but he repents of having done that, and he regrets that. But here's the thing. You can try to be good, but you do bad things. Who notices more than anybody? Your children. So his sons turn out to seek their own way of what they want. They go after what they want. One of his sons has incest with his sister, and there's in chapter 13 story about that. Amnon and Tamar, sibling incest, rape, and abandonment. Another son tries to take out David, and so David ends up having to flee. And in 2 Samuel chapter 7 is also an important chapter because it talks about, and as in many other places, but this is a big one where it talks about that from David's line, there's going to be a future king, Messiah. There's always messianic messages in the Old Testament, like we talked about the blood of the Lamb, and these things. And here again, there's going to be a future king that's going to establish a kingdom here on earth. They don't know exactly that he's going to be coming on the donkey, but riding into Jerusalem, but they do know that there's a Messiah coming. The Jewish people know that there is such a thing as a Messiah. And so God forgives David, but there's still consequences through his sons, but God will redeem.